Hello, welcome to Landed Kakiak. My name is Laurel, and today I am going to plan a week for my 7th grader in his unofficial RC notebook, level 5. So I recently had somebody ask me if I could go into a little bit more detail about the unofficial RC notebook for my 7th grader and like how long a lesson is and how things are assigned and whatnot. So this is that video. This is designed to be used with any number of curriculum, anything of your choice, really. This is just my container method to simplify our homeschool, keep things orderly, have everything in one place for me to check it so we're not like tracking down and juggling multiple workbooks and things. It keeps my son on track. All he has to do, he doesn't have to wonder what to do next or check a planner. He just turns the page and there it is telling him what's supposed to go on that page. So let me just go through a weekly plan. That's all I do. I only can really plan for a week. I remember back in my very, very beginning homeschool days when I would literally plan like a psychopath, like an entire year. It makes me laugh because it was just, but I felt like it was a phase I had to go through. Like I had to see it on paper that certain curriculum could be covered in a certain amount of time, or like I just wanted to see where it was going. It was like more for me. It was part of my self-education process. But now I know for us, it works best if I just plan 1 week at a time. Okay, so here we go. So what I have is the notebook. If you're unfamiliar with this, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what the pages look like. So he keeps a bookmark, anything to bookmark his page. What's in it is whatever RC book we are reading. So he could do, I say chapter or book summary. So he's going to summarize in some way what he read and studied that day. Right now, just because what he's actually reading is a science book, a textbook. I deviated from the RC book list just to make sure we get that science credit for the year. So right now he is just focusing on Apologia, general science, and this has labs with it. So this is a course that has physical labs to do, and he just does those completely independently and does a little write-up in here. I do have some lab write-up forms that I created that I will link in the description box for you in case you're interested in doing something like that. There is a chapter book or a textbook in this case. You see, he is a little more than halfway through this book. Then for spelling and vocabulary, he is currently working in Beyond Blend Phonics. He just does 1 word a day from here, and we have a specific assignment that I'll show you as I do my planning. There's a page, so that's what we're using with that page. For writing, so I just might mark this up here because he is reading this Usborne Illustrated Grammar and Punctuation book. So he should be on page, I did this ahead of time so I wouldn't have to keep bringing it out, but so he's on page 84 and there is a quiz today. So and then for his actual writing curriculum, we are using writing and rhetoric. He is in book 4 right now. So I just say writing and rhetoric 4. And then I'll put in like what pages or lesson he should be able to work through. So he has 2 pages. I did label these like rough draft and final draft because I know a lot of RCers that I kind of designed this book for are just writing essays at this point. So I want to maybe have a rough draft and a final draft, or they could circle or highlight which one it is. Maybe they did a rough draft the day before and a final draft this day or something. But I just figured they would be using it more for just straight independent writing time, and they're not necessarily using a curriculum, but I am. And then for math, here's the math pages, and he is in Right Start Mathematics. We just like to go Right Start, lesson, and then like whatever lesson he's on. So anyways, I wanted to show you the pages, and that's just 1 day, right? So they get math, writing, and some grammar reading, a vocab word. He reads a science book. So what I don't have pages for is, that we are currently using, is his, and we have these in her morning basket. I'll link our morning basket video I recently did in the description box. But I start every day with the Bible recap. We do this devotion. It doesn't take very long. And then all the kids are in a McGuffey reader at this point. And so my 7th grader is reading from McGuffey's 4th eclectic reader. And there's really nothing that I'm having him do on paper for this right now. So what we are doing though, because what the 4th reader has is definitions for words, right? So we read, especially these, I think poems are so good to read repeatedly because there's so much figurative language and decoding, which is really fun. But there's some definitions, so they're kind of like vocab words, right? But we go over those and we do whatever exercises are in here. There's just basically comprehension questions. And we just do these orally right now for him. And then we move, when he's done these 2 things with me, then it is on to his own independent seat work, and he does all his own work as a 7th grader. And I just check it, and I have a stamp, something like this, good job, something like that, or a star stamp. I have a bunch of stamps, but I can check it at the end of the day, or to be totally honest, sometimes I don't get to it till the end of the week, and I just check his whole week's worth of work. But he can come to me, I'm in the room, so he can come to me with any questions. Sometimes I kind of look over his shoulder. I especially like to keep an eye on his math and his writing. So what I like to do is I set up my planner. I'm starting in this is our system. I start by planning out his actual assignments in here. I like to see him in here. And then I've set up our weekly planner for him. These are my planning pages, because this is the records that I keep, because I'm required to keep records for the state. And so they can just see every single day he was present, every single thing that we did. I just check it off, when it's done. So I just put in the order, this is easiest for me, of how we're doing things: Bible, reading, or McGuffey. Then he does his science, his vocab, his writing, and his math. And then I have a column for activities, just to keep in mind stuff that we have to do after school. If I have appointments that are during school, I just write it in, what time approximately in the day. If it's an afternoon appointment, I'll write it, I'll block out this area because we'll be gone for an appointment. Or if it's in the morning, I do it on this side. So what I do is I just make a stack of those resources in the order, right? I usually have them, I bring them up in order. Okay, now that's my whole stack. Okay. So then what I do is I just kind of put them in a half circle around me on my desk. So Bible is going to be over here. McGuffey. Science. Vocab. Grammar. I think I did grammar for the whole, I think I already went through, I think I did the whole notebook at one time. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually just going to put this away since I'm not going to really need it. I'm just going to put it to the side. Okay, writing is over here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books that I may be touching. They're all at arm's reach. I can almost immediately take this off because all I have to do for my planner, since it doesn't go, we're not doing anything written for it, is to just write down this Bible recap, day 10, day 11, day 12, day 13, day 14. So this is done, actually. So I'll put that off to the side and get out of my way. I'm down to 5 books. Okay, so a nice thing. So I could do the same thing. Right now I've gone to my 8-year-old. He's in the 3rd reader, and we're just keeping him on the same lesson from McGuffey all week and then switching. His reading is strong enough that it's not a matter of so much reading, like decoding. It is just going deeper in comprehension. So that's why I just like to park on one lesson for a whole week with him, now that he's a pretty fluent reader. But in the past, I would just stay on that lesson as long as it took for him to be at the comprehension and fluency level that I was looking for. Reading it with no mistakes, being able to tell back to me in pretty good detail what he read and answer any questions. Then I'd be okay, now we can move on. But yeah, the kids are progressing, so our strategies for planning and what we do is progressing with them. So now that, I've got 2 boys that are fluent readers, obviously my 7th grader and my 3rd grader. So you'll see that reflected in my planning is kind of changing. But if we ever got to some weird they were really struggling with some lesson, we would stay longer, you know. So he is currently on, we did Lazy Ned last week's, oh, and the monkey. That's right, we did that one. Meddlesome Maddie. So now he's gonna be on McGuffey, lesson 9 this week. And it's a poem, so that's nice. We have all these stanzas we can focus on specifically on a certain day. So I like that. Okay. So I can actually just fill in McGuffey lesson 9 all week. And that's, again, that's not something I put in the notebook, so I can just do it here. Okay, so now on to where I do a little more thinking, which is science. Right now, because we've been playing around with how to do our science page just because the reading is different. So for a while I was having him do fill in the blanks, where I was like going through and like highlighting stuff, and I was having him fill in the blanks and things. But I'm trying to get away from that just because I'm trying to get him to be more of an independent thinker. And so we were talking last night, and also just when I went to just having him do his own reading, and I said, well, just do as much reading as it takes you to fill up this page. So usually, you know, there's so many things you can draw and diagrams and things. I was like, you know, draw something from the notes, because there's like pretty much something on every single page. There's some kind of figure. Make sure you label it. You know, this is science. We're trying to get him to be a little more technical, label things. I bought him a shade, like a sheet that has like stencils for like different shapes, so we could trace to make things really exact and nice and neat. But it's funny, like sometimes he's only reading, because there's certain paragraphs that had so many like definitions or bolded words he was wanting to define, like all of those. And I was like, this is going to take you forever to read this book. It'll take you all the rest of the school year. And I want you to read other things, right? I want us to get back to, I don't want it to take that long. So we were talking last night, we were going over his notebook together and just kind of talking. And so we were saying how science books are usually, they're topical, right? We want him to be able to, I was like, just read through like an entire topic and then just go back and make note of what you thought were the main points or the main takeaways, or what stood out to you. But you don't necessarily have to define every single bolded word, which is something I have had him do in the past, but it's just taking too long. But I'd rather that he did some kind of summary paragraph of what he read, right? Or main points. So he would start with chemical changes. So he could probably read 232. Maybe I'll just go back to doing this. I used to always assign the on your own questions. Classify the following changes as physical or chemical, right? So for Tom, pages 232 to, he should be able to read at least 10 pages, right? Well, he only has to go, I'd say since he got to here and it stopped, we'll stop there. 238. I'm just gonna say on your own questions, 8.7 to 8.9. And then since they have those right at the end of the chapter, he can just go back and check, right? On your own, 8.7 to 8.9. Check answers. Okay, so that's his first assignment. So I'm expecting this not to take more than like 30 minutes, probably, really. Great. Spelling and vocabulary. I'm just gonna go ahead and assign the words for him. Let's just assign writer for this day. I don't always have him do every single word, but just because we want him to get the, is the suffix that they're focusing on. And so for this, what he does is he breaks it up by syllable, and then so rai writer. And then we'll have I'll say go definition here, right? Of writer, he can define it, one who writes. Then he breaks it into base word and suffix, and he gives the meaning of those, right? He's going to add them together to equal the, new word. I do like when they write the base to give the part of speech and the new word part of speech, because sometimes it changes. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And I just like that to be noted. So there's room to do like 2 words, but I'm just having him do 1 for now. And then down here are the parallel sentences. So in this book, Beyond Blend Phonics, they give the parallel sentences. So like for writer, the writer wrote a fantastic novel about 2 brave policemen helping people. A writer is one who writes. This one, they're just giving it straight as a second sentence. Usually they do it more like this, like statehood. Indiana was a territory before it obtained statehood. It was just a territory before Congress decided to let it become recognized as a state. That kind of makes more sense, but the parallel sentences, it has like the definition of the word embedded in it in place of using the word again. Someone doing something, right? ER. So he should be able to, like, he gets the suffix ER. It means it's already got it. Someone doing something. It's already given. Usually I wouldn't write this in for him. I would just to show you what I mean. And then write would be over there. And of course, write is a verb, right? So this would be a verb, write, plus ER, someone doing something, equals the new word writer, which is a noun. He's going to copy the parallel sentences down here. And if he wants to, he can do an original sentence. So I'll just say optional original sentence, only if he wants to. He also does do the etymology. So he's an etymology dictionary, and he will look up the word and he can tell you the origin of the word, right? I'll write origin here. So he can write, if it was Old French or Old English or Latin or something like that, he can write that information down here, however it makes sense to him. Okay, writing and rhetoric, book 4. So I like to write down the lesson. He's into lesson 8 now. Okay, lesson 8. And this, I kind of tend to do, this looks like he's at page 110, to let him fill in. And we just set like a time. It's like, so he does this, he does that reading, and he does his quiz or whatever. And he usually just tells me like, hey mom, I got, 3 out of 4 on my quiz or whatever. And I'll write it down in my, in his lesson planner. But he does that, he just checks it off. And then a lot of times he does this on his own because he doesn't need me, but there are times when it's helpful for me to, this is designed to be done with a teacher. But a lot of times he can just get a lot out of it because it's still a pretty low level. Because we started the series late, but we went ahead and started from the beginning. So this is pretty easy for him. So a lot of times he doesn't really need my feedback, or he doesn't need me to discuss things with him so much. But we just have him set a timer for an hour. When it gets to something like this, if it's dictation, he'll just say, Mom, can you dictate this to me real quick? I'm like, okay, so I'll do the dictation part with him. And he just labels things as he works. He does these. And then he can actually just check, because I do have the teacher manual, he can actually just check his answers himself. Because I'm going to be looking at this as a whole at the end of the week. And I have seen his writing, I have seen it progressing, that when I look at it, when I look over his shoulder here and there, that it's getting better. 1 hour timer. So we'll just set the timer for an hour, and he just gets as far as he gets. He grabs me if he needs me for something. Sometimes he likes to do the part where we read the mentor text together, because that is helpful for me to have read through for any questions like down the line for that lesson, because they'll be referring to that mentor text. Okay, and then for math, so I'm going to check what he should be on lesson, 130. And I like to see if there are, so warm-up practice 15, worksheet 102. So I like to just write that in here. So warm up 15, worksheet 102. Sometimes we still do the lessons together, but he's getting, again, to an age where he can basically do the lesson himself, just going through this and then checking his own answers. I'm not too worried about it, as long as he can, if he does this kind of lesson part himself and understands it, as long as when he does his worksheet, we grade the worksheet, and if he got it right, then he understood the lesson, right? Anyways, and so that's a day. So I will just repeat that process for the rest of the week. And then I'll just go back to my planner and start filling out, and then I'll fill out what I planned for him in his notebook. Okay, well that's what I'm having my 7th grader do, and that's how I'm using his notebook. If you have any questions about anything you saw today, leave them for me in the comments. I will link to everything I showed you today just in case anything piqued your interest, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.